One of the best ways to observe if a particular herb or nutrient is valid is if the ancients used it. For instance, if it was used in widespread, if it was used in Greece, Rome, China, Japan, India, or if it's been used for many thousands of years in treatment of illnesses or for good health or whatever, it probably is very valid because it would not have survived the test of time. I know a lot of the modern medicine does not like to hear this because, quite obviously to me, as somebody who has been in accounting and finance for many years, things are driven by money. And if it grows in the earth, you can't patent it, and you really can not charge the amount of money you can for something that is only you exclusively own. That is the key. Now, what I particularly do is I look for the most cost-effective things, and I try to weed out the BS, as if I might just call it that way, because there are so many claims out there in alternative herbs, if you want to call it that, alternative treatments they might call it. It's probably the improper word to say because that's not a word the medical community likes. But I try to look at something that has been used for many thousands of years by, for instance, this is oregano. Now, it's not the stuff you sprinkle on pizza. This is oil of oregano. It's very different. It's the name is actually Oregano vulgare. In Greek, it means joy of the mountains. And I'm going to just highlight some things from these articles, but it is an herb that is very cost effective. It is extremely antibacterial and extremely antifungal. And just to warn ahead of time, it will actually sting the skin if you put it on the skin directly or take it in the mouth directly. So it needs to be diluted with an oil. Now, the oil I like to use to dilute it, you can use olive oil, almond oil, but I use coconut oil. But I think the cost effectiveness for this is very, very, very good, and that's what's important. And sometimes that is what the medical people don't like because it's very effective for a low price and it can be grown. But I think it works because it's been working in all these cultures for many thousands of years. It's worked in Hindu cultures in India, and it's been used throughout, even the medieval times. It's been used for treating a number of illnesses from ancient times. Okay, the ancient Greeks were among the first people to identify oregano oil for its health advantage and therapeutic qualities. Hippocrates in ancient times used oregano for curing various diseases like respiratory diseases, stomach pain. Moreover, Paracelsus in the 15th century used wild oregano to treat psoriasis, diarrhea, jaundice, vomiting, fungal diseases. In around 3000 BC, the Babylonians described it as a cure for lung and cardiac disease. So, you can all say that these people are a bunch of idiots that don't know what they're talking about, but obviously I think the human race has not really progressed that much as far as brain power goes, and if they observe things working, they've been using it and it's been discovered by all these different cultures, there is some truth to it. And I'm going to reference some more modern articles so you could see that this stuff is probably something to keep in the house or whatever as a useful thing. And I actually have so many herbs, I probably have as many supplements that are from natural sources and herbs than I have food. So I'm into this, but I want to hit the ones that I think are the most important. This is one I'll take every day. William Landham described, this is 1633, described an even wider range of uses. His list included, this is back in 1633, his list included diverse conditions as bladder trouble, bleeding, heart failure, head pain, itchy skin, mouth pain, freckles or spots on the skin, stomach ache, intestinal worms, and toothache. Now, as far as the gum disease and toothache, that is something that it's been used for. Um, it's actually what you would do is you would take a small amount of coconut oil and dilute it a lot with. I mean, you take a small amount of oil of oregano and dilute it with a lot of coconut oil and leave it in the mouth for a while, and it does work as a very effective antiseptic. Now, quite obviously, um, what is gum disease from? Bacteria. Tooth decay is from bacteria. So, maybe I shouldn't say this, but quite obviously, what would you think that would do? Would that be helpful? Yes, it would be helpful. Quite obvious. Although people would say you can't say that, but I have to say that because to me, that's as plain and obvious as the sun coming up in the morning. If something is antiseptic and kills microbes and bacteria, and it's very, very, very effective with it, and you're using a small amount of oil of oregano cut with a large amount of coconut oil, which are both antiseptic, and that's because the oil of oregano is so powerful that it'll sting the mouth straight on. It's actually that strong. So you want to dilute it a lot, and I personally think the coconut oil is the best for that. Um, you would think that it would help against fighting tooth decay because it would fight the bacteria. It's common sense. Now, you could say that's wrong, but I can't see how. But I'm going to bring out a couple of brand new studies on this because I've read extensively on many, many health topics for a lot of years. Even though I'm an amateur, this was something I used to read about a lot when I was doing cardio at the gym. So I picked up a lot of information. And I do a lot of cardio. It's insane. 3 hours a day. And I'd say that's unhealthy, but I don't care. Do that. And I would figure that in a number of hours I must have spent on this stuff, I probably got a very good body of knowledge. And I do look at things with a very critical eye because I don't like being BS'd either. My opinion is this stuff is worthwhile and it has a lot of uses and it does work well. Herbalists claim that oregano is nature's most powerful antibiotic. Now, considering that herbalists have a gazillion different antibiotics for everything there is, if a lot of herbalists claim that oregano is nature's most powerful, that's a pretty heavy statement. As an effective herbal remedy, oregano was clinically proven to kill bad bacteria, which the strongest prescribed antibiotic cannot eliminate. Oregano comes in form of oil or capsules. This can be taken orally or mixed with grapefruit juice. Now, I never mixed it with grapefruit juice, so I don't know I'm not sure about that particular thing. This I found interesting too. This is a new report, a new study. I'm going to post the links on this. People want to get into it, but I like just hitting the highlights because it gives an overview real fast, The new report out by the University of Arizona says that oil of oregano is a powerful nutrient for fighting harmful bacteria. They discovered this. Isn't that amazing? And preventing cancer. That's a new one, right? That's a new one. Sadhana, a food microbiologist at the University of Arizona, discovered that carfacrol, a filament of oregano oil, exhibits powerful antioxidant antimicrobial activity not only when consumed, but also when applied to foods. Now, I do want to emphasize again, oil of oregano is different from the oregano sprinkles you get in the store that people sprinkle on food, and they see that at pizza. That is not the same stuff. That is something totally different. So the lab at University of Arizona had previously identified oregano oil as a powerful antibacterial in lab testing. But she and her team decided to test the oil on food to see how it fared. They discovered that when applied to ground beef, oregano oil actually prevented the formation of up to 78% of cancer-causing molecules that normally come about when meat is cooked at high temperatures. And I want to go, this is the reason I like to read these things. I'm not exactly reading them because I can comment on a couple other things. In the anti-aging theory, I know a lot of people like barbecued food. And I don't know if people want to hear this, but actually when food is barbecued and it's charcoal broiled on the outside, and the meat becomes more, um, you know, it's cooked well or something, especially on the outside. It gets that crust. That is actually pretty bad for people. It's actually, from what I've read, it actually is one of the things that can help contribute to cancer and rapid aging. So, and I know, that's actually a very popular thing in the United States to do this. And it's not the only thing there is that's bad. So I don't like saying don't do it. People do what the hell they want, and it's a combination of many things. But I figured I would tell that as a little tidbit because these cancer-causing molecules, when meat is cooked at high temperatures, that will typically come about a lot with barbecued food, and it is one of the things that contribute to aging, rapid aging. And I will throw in interject something about rapid aging, is fluoride. There was actually a particular well in one of these towns, I forgot where it was, in India, where it was only in this one specific area, this one town. There was a high degree of fluoride, which they put in the water in the United States, but they don't put like ridiculous amounts of it in the water in this well in India, in this one particular place. And people who were like 40 years old looked like they were 80 years old because their skin was aged rapidly. And I might get into a specific video on this about what vitamin deficiencies cause wrinkles on the face, in the different areas and stuff like that. I might get into something specific about that, but probably something more specific on skin. But I figured I'd mention that right in here because it's not bad to eat meats at all, but sometimes it's just how it's cooked that makes the major difference. And I just want to ad lib on that a little bit because I do know I know a lot of stuff. Actually, I could talk for hours about this garbage, but it's not garbage. It's not garbage, and I do hit this with a very critical eye because, in my opinion, there is a lot in alternative medicine, if you want to call it that, quote unquote, that is bogus. And I'm trying to throw out the best information that I know is to be accurate because I will hit things with a very critical eye. I think this oregano oil for cost is very cost effective. It's not much, and I'll show you where my source is, and you could pay various prices on this, and they'll tell you the quality's higher, but I think this is good quality. I'll show you where I get mine from. Oregano oil could be applied to various food preparations to ward off the formation of dangerous microbes and other contaminants that threaten human health. Rather than resort to radiation, chemicals, or other unnatural interventions, oregano oil might just be a viable, natural alternative. Now, you know how, which I don't listen to this guy too much, how Alex Jones goes on the television or whatever he's on, not television, the radio and the internet, and says they're irradiating our food and they're doing this and they're trying to kill us. Well, they're not necessarily trying to kill us. They are probably trying to keep the food from spoiling and, trying to keep the price down at the same time. So it's like a mixture balance of what you want to do. But this oil of oregano might be a great alternative. Now, if somebody was I'm not an entrepreneur that I could just jump in this market. But if somebody was an entrepreneur, because I would like to encourage this, if, you can come out with foods that are treated with this oil of oregano and say they're not they're not being treated with any kind of preservative chemicals, they're not being treated with radiation or anything like that. It's pure, wholesome, natural foods that are treated with oregano oil to preserve them. Now, in certain markets, that would probably take off. Now, I know in Japan, I would think it would take off because, well, I think in Japan people are more intelligent. I don't know what the hell it is, but they seem to read the labels better than people in the United States, because in Japan they will not have genetically modified foods available, as far as I know. And but they probably still have chemical preservatives and that type of stuff. This oregano oil would be a great alternative for somebody And that's why I just want to highlight that if somebody was an entrepreneur that can jump into this, that was in this industry, that could possibly put out a product that might take off. And I think it would. It goes on to say, oil of oregano is a powerful weapon against intestinal parasites, yeast overgrowth as well. One study found that 77% of parasite patients who took oregano oil for 6 weeks ended up parasite free. Oil of oregano also helps stave off Candida. It's not Canada. Candida, a yeast overgrowth that can severely debilitate quality of life. And it can. Actually, a lot of people have this. And there is a controversial alternative microelectric treatment that could be used against that is not endorsed by the medical community at all. But, I wouldn't like, well, that's something I've done myself. I could say that. I don't know if it works or not because I've never had this, or maybe I've prevented it for all I know. I don't really know. But this is something else that, since it's a very, very powerful anti-microbe, and that's been recognized for many centuries, thousands of years actually, in many cultures, you would assume that it works against intestinal parasites. Now, another alternative against that is wormwood. They call that it's a particular what do you call it? Particular herb that can work against that. And walnut hulls, I believe it is. It's a combination of those two things. But to keep things simple, oil of oregano has a hell of a lot of different uses. And I said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it can sting if it's applied to the skin or it's taken in the mouth straight. You don't want to do that. Oregano essential oil should never be used undiluted. Never be used undiluted. Always dilute in a suitable carrier oil such as olive oil or almond oil. And I use coconut oil. So that's what I use. Because coconut oil actually is anti-microbe also in itself. And actually, olive oil is too, and I think almond oil, but coconut oil is even more so. It is important not to confuse oil of oregano with common oregano that is used in spice for cooking. Common oregano is totally different. Oil of oregano is something else entirely. Now, where I get it from is this place, and I've been getting pretty much everything from this place because I used to get things from different places, but this is the largest online vitamin supplier and nutrient whatever supplier in the United States. They've been in business for a long time, many decades, and they have very high quality, and everything is tested here in the United States. I think all of it comes from the United States. If it's not, it's all tested here. They got very good lab facilities. They have very good quality. That's my opinion. I don't sell for these people or not, but I found these guys to be the best deal for oil of oregano. So you can get, this is I think it's, how many tablets is in here, but there's 5 bottles for $15, and I believe there's 90 in this particular one, so you got 450 capsules. So that is quite a good supply for $15, believe me. So that to me is one, and you can see various prices. I know they claim there's different qualities, but I think the quality from this place is good in my opinion. So that's my recommendation. And this is one of those herbs that has a hell of a lot of uses, and you can go on and actually read books on it that are like pretty thick, and they can get into a lot of different combinations the way you can use this. But it's been a healer for thousands and thousands of years in many different cultures, so you know it works. You know it works. So maybe the medical community doesn't like that, but I mean, maybe they should be using this too. Concentrate on other things that they can't, that are other problems, because this is an effective, cheap solution for many things.